what I tell people, had I known I was going to enjoy it so much, I would have done this earlier.
Mm, yeah.
Honestly, I had budgets for IBM. I was responsible for marketing for the PC company. I had literally hundreds of millions of dollars that I spent.
Yeah.
Wall Street Journal ads and all of that. If I never did another Wall Street Journal ad, IBM would still be okay, right? But when I gave a key to someone who didn't think they were ever going to be able to buy a house, that they
Mm,
were going to have to lease for the rest of their life, that they could not figure out their finances on how to come up with a down payment, how are they going to stay in the house, that makes a difference to people. That
yes.
made a difference to me because it wasn't another ad. I made an impact on somebody's life.
Wow. Wow. Welcome to the Success with Listings podcast, where we help you get success in the real estate game the easy way. Now you can get off the roller coaster of feast and famine and out of the rat race of competing with every other agent in town. Hi, I'm Knolly Williams. I took over 1,000 listings during my first 10 years in the real estate game, and in this podcast, I show you how to have success with listings. Let's go. Hey, what's up? Knolly Williams here, back at you again. Success with listings, and I have an incredible guest on today. Now, you're going to absolutely love this guest. I'm not going to tell you who she is yet, but I will say that she was an executive for 25 plus years before she got into the real estate game. Why she got in the real estate game? Well, we're going to hear about that. But she was an executive with IBM, Toshiba, and Dell. And they actually flew her all around the country. They relocated her for the specific position of helping them grow. And then she got into the real estate space. And I got to tell you, when I got my real estate license, I would see billboards. Yeah, you heard me right. I would see billboards with this lady and her picture and her company, Best Agents in Texas. And I said, what in the world is she doing? I got to get to know her. So we got to know each other early on in the game. She started her own brokerage, was super successful at that. Then she went on to Compass and she became the designated managing broker for the state of Texas and has done a ton of stuff for the Compass brand. And she is just a real delight. Now, her latest thing, she's written several books. Her latest book is called Her First Place, and she has a foundation all around that as well. So help me give a warm welcome to Rene Walker. What's up, Rene? How you doing?
Hi, so glad to be here. Thanks for inviting me.
Well, I tell you what, you are a real treat, a real delight. You started supporting my teaching career early on. I remember you would throw my name in the hat, literally, like for different things with NAREB and all kinds of stuff that we were doing. And you have been a big volunteer in a lot of those causes. And so I really appreciate you for supporting my teaching ministry career early on. So I want to go right into Her First Place.
Okay.
Before I do that, I just want to say that I'm always touched. My mom was a single parent. I'm always touched with women who are in business and super successful at it. Most people don't know this, but most of my bosses before I became a 1099 were women. And they were super amazing. Just love. I'm a gentle soul and just love working with them. And, you're really no exception. You're the kind of person that if I, had to go back and be under someone, I would, I'd say, hey, Rene would be my choice. So let's
Thank
talk about right away, Her First Place. What's that all about?
So during the pandemic, when everybody had a little extra time on their hands, I decided to write a book. And obviously, writing a book about something you know is easier, right? So I thought I'll write a book about how to buy a house. And as I began to get into the statistics, I noticed there was discrepancy between white folks that were buying houses and black folks that were buying houses,
Hmm.
men that were buying houses and women that were buying houses. And the opportunity for black women to buy their very first house is a huge opportunity that somehow gets missed because we wait a little longer. We may wait for that partner to come to buy us a house. There's a lot of reasons why it's been delayed. And the statistics says that our financials are sometimes in place, but we don't have the down payment.
Hmm.
Or it's a little harder for us to get a loan. So the book kind of switched from everybody go buy a house to black women go buy a house now, right?
Wow.
And so it's a love letter to Black women to encourage them. I bought my first house when I was 22. I had no idea what I was doing. And so I go through the ups and downs and the mistakes that I made in this book and trying to help other people not to make the same mistakes. I tell other people's stories in this book about what they did to buy a house, how they saved, where they got the money to be able to do that. I think it is the beginning of generational wealth that if
Mm.
I can start that early and younger, that people who are, if we can see our parents buy a house, then we're more encouraged to buy a house, right? And so it's a never ending cycle that we buy to the place where we can afford in the best school system, because the best school systems will get our children into the best college. The best college will get them into the best jobs. The best jobs will help them afford the best school system. And it's a never ending cycle for generations.
That is so incredible. Generational wealth. Let's talk about that a little bit deeper too, because you said that as you were working on the book, you started doing research. I mean, you knew there was a need for the book, and then you started doing research, and that research actually did it open your eyes to something you didn't know, or did you just kind of re-clarify a couple of things you knew already?
I think both. So
Okay.
here's a couple things. 40 acres and a mule, right? We go to
Yeah.
school, we learn about that.
Yep.
Was really to say, what do we do after the civil rights, after the Civil War, to help Black folks get a head start?
Hmm.
And we said, we'll give them 40 acres and a mule. Well, the first ruling wasn't even including the mule. The mules came last because they didn't want to take the mules back home. So they said, we'll loan you the mules to get started. But here's the thing, think about what if Black folks were giving 40 acres and a mule then?
Mm.
Where would they be today? What
Yeah.
kind of ownership would they have today? The things that they may have had to overcome in redlining and segregation and all of that may not have existed if we had land. And I'll go back to Bible times. You
Hmm.
know, most of the New Testament is about land, right? Who owns the land? Who's warring over the land?
Sure.
Going to the promised land?
Yeah.
All of that. I think it is important for all of us to be able to understand the value of the land, what the
Hmm.
land brings us, what it does for us generationally, how it sets a model for our children when we have land, and the freedom that it gives us, right?
Wow. Yeah, no doubt. And with that, going back to the whole idea of us really, Black people in general really didn't have the knowledge with it either. So not only do you not have the land, in this new world that we find ourselves in, but you also don't have the knowledge. And Scripture says, "My people perish for lack of knowledge." And that's one of the things that I've seen you do over and over again as I've watched you on stages, as I've watched you in different committees and different nonprofit organizations that you have chaired and been a member of, where you have really, really supported and you've really pushed for the education of us as realtors. And now, with her first place with women being able to buy. And so this is really critical. You're not, so tell me a little bit, we're going to get more into, real estate listings and all that, but I want to hear a little bit more because you talked a little bit about there being possibly a foundation, or there is a foundation that's connected
There
with
is a
this.
foundation.
Tell me
Yeah.
about that.
So the foundation is also called Her First Place because as I got into it, I realized although she may have had the income, she
Hmm.
didn't have the saved down payment.
Hmm.
And so I wanted to make sure that I could give money to women who are buying their house for the very first time to help them on that journey. So how
Wow.
it works is you have a client, or I have a client, I reach out to you, you say, will you give me a referral for this client? You say, yes, I give half of that referral back to that client to help with her down payment. And then I give the other half to another Black woman who's buying a first house. So I don't collect
Wow.
any money. All the money
Wow.
either goes to the client that's buying or to another Black woman to help. Now, sometimes with a first time home buyer, that house may be low. So that referral may not be as big as I want, but at a minimum, everybody who applies gets $1,000, right? So I want to make sure that I'm feeding that funnel so that I always have money for everybody that applies that qualifies. And qualifications really, you must buy the house for you, right?
Mm-hmm.
So your name must be on it. It's
Yeah.
not an investment property, it's your very first home, and that I want to help you get in it. Oftentimes we talk about just getting in the house. Going back to that educational piece, I want to make sure you stay in the house, right? You
Right.
make good
Right.
decisions about selection of the house, selection of the community, selection of the agent, to make sure that you can financially afford that comfortably, right? I always tell people just because the bank is going to give you the money doesn't mean you need to take it. You really need to take as much money that's comfortable for you on your monthly income, because you might want to have a kid that goes to college someday. You
That's
might want
right.
to eat out and go to the movies. So that amount of money is what's comfortable for you right now.
This is very interesting, and I want to kind of, we'll get back to her first place in a moment, but
Sure.
I want to talk a little bit about what I've seen in you as being a giver, because it's always intrigued me, people that, and I can feel your heart right now. I mean, like my heart is leaping. There's something that happens when you get in behind a cause and you're doing it for the right reason. Some people call it legacy, but we know, legacy is not how much money can I stack and leave behind. It's really what can I leave for the next generation. And this is really a legacy that you're creating. This is one of those causes for which you were placed in the earth, right? And so it's just everything within you. I'm just so excited that you're able to do this. What is it within you that causes you to want to give? Because, and the reason I ask that is because, I mean, I know you, so I kind of think I know the answer. But the reason I ask is because a lot of times when we are givers, and I believe everyone's a giver, not everyone's acting on that because I think it's just part of who we are as humans. But when you are a giver and you actually exercise that, it just feels so good. However, a lot of times people will say, well, why is she giving so much? Like, why is she on that committee? Like, why does she do all that stuff? So what's your why behind giving back as you do, which you've been doing pretty much for probably your whole career?
Yeah. So there's a couple things. To whom much is given, much is required,
That's
right?
right.
And so I also don't believe that you can outgive, that you'll never be able to give enough, right? And then thirdly, it always comes back.
That's right.
That's like a fundamental principle, right?
Mhm.
That works for everybody. It's like
Yeah.
gravity. If you drop it, no matter who you are, that ball's going to fall to the ground, right?
Sure.
It's a principle. And so giving is a principle that if you give, it is promised to us to
Yeah.
get back, right? And so I can't outgive, right?
Hmm.
I've been given so much, been blessed to have so many people in my life that have poured into me. So I can't help but to give it back. I
Yeah.
can't help to make sure that I'm helping somebody else in giving, right? It is such a thrill. I tell people that I get more out of it than the person that I've given to, right? Because at
Yeah.
the end of the day, if I can reflect on who I've helped, who I've given to, who I've made a difference to, that will outlive me, right? When I'm dead and gone, the
Mm.
residuals will have to be what I've given.
That's right. That's right. So talk a little bit, along that theme, and I appreciate you sharing all that. That's so true. We can't outgive the giver, and I call it the paycheck that you'll never spend. Is that when someone comes up to you and says, "Hey, you helped me with this. You helped me buy my first house." This is, I mean, you're talking about your generational blessing that you're providing. So when I've been to your house, absolutely love it, and when I was talking to your husband, Phil, he said, yeah, he just brags on you, and he says, oh yeah, Renee bought this. She was single. The company flew her in, and they relocated her because she was a huge asset. And I was like, how in the world? This is this is a very nice home. And I said, what's I wonder what Renee's motivation is, because you you were motivated to be successful even as a executive, uh, as a young woman. So how did that motivation come about for you?
So I had a daddy that wanted a boy that treated me and poured into me as if I
Mm,
was his first son. And he did not put limits on me.
mm,
He said I could do anything I put my mind to, and I believed it. And so one of the things he would say is that a good man leaves wealth to several generations.
mm,
And I always thought that was money that you left, but it's not, right? It's your good name, it's your values, it's the things that you pass on. And so for several generations, my father has passed on wealth, and he's
mm,
been gone for years. But my nieces, my nephews, all of them understand what he meant to this family.
mm,
Some of it is our spirituality, our introduction to God,
mm,
how we interact, right? How we
mm.
care for others, not just in our family, but other people.
Yeah.
That's what he left us.
Wow. Wow. And so that just kind of continued to carry through with you having a desire to be at the top of your game, is the best way I could say it, and to really succeed at a high level, and not just to play small, is
I
what it
think,
sounds like. Yeah,
I think when you are given gifts and you are put here for a reason, playing small dishonors God,
that's right.
right?
It's so true. It's so true. It's so true. It dishonors the divine, the creator,
Yeah.
who created us for so much better. And you listening, I hope that you're being inspired and realizing that there's more that you have to give, and the life that you're living now is leading up to the life that you can ultimately live. So, Renee has a life where she can actually make choices. She has options, and things that she wants to do next. And actually, it's interesting, Renee, because most of the things that you've done, you didn't have to do. Like, you didn't have to get into real estate. You didn't have to become a designated managing broker for one of the largest brands in the nation. You didn't really need, I say it this way, you didn't need the money, so to speak, but you were driven from where I can tell, you were really driven by the next challenge, and for really wanting to take yourself to where to new heights where you knew that you possibly could go, or to see where it could lead. Talk about getting into real estate, because you were an executive in the computer space, or with these electronic companies, and you were headhunted, and they sought you out and they brought you on board. You started with IBM, then Toshiba, then Dell got a hold of you, and you poured everything you could into those companies and helped make them great. And then somehow you said, well, wait a minute, I'm going to start a brokerage. I'm going to start my own. Did you start as a real estate agent and then got the idea that, yes, I can do this? Or how did that happen?
Yeah. So IBM for 19 years, and I
Mm.
moved 11 times to 11 different states and bought a house each time.
Wow.
Left at there to go
So
to
you're the
California.
hold on. So you you got moved 11 times, bought 11 homes. So you're the real deal. When we talk about her first place, I mean, talk about
Yeah.
it. All right, keep going.
Went to California, bought a house, left California to come here to work for Dell, but had made money in the real estate business in California that I bought two houses when I came to Texas, right? Um, Left Dell to go to a startup that didn't start up. And so my next job was in San Jose, California. And the cost of living in San Jose was so expensive that you have to start making your list of what do you want to do if you stay here? What are you good at? What's affordable? What would you enjoy? It's legal, all of that, right? And so I had bought and sold houses without a real estate license. I thought, well, I wonder what it would take to get a real estate license. And I still believe today that that bar is relatively low, that a lot of people can jump in. A lot of people can't be successful at it, but a lot of people can jump in, right? Um, and so I decided I didn't want to leave success as an executive in these companies and not be a success in real estate. So I studied hard. I worked hard. I started with a small brokerage, Emmy Jean Johnson in Round Rock.
Yep.
And they weren't a large brokerage, but they're one of the oldest brokerages in the city. They have a great reputation. And she just poured into me the knowledge that she had. And I was so grateful and so thankful when I was lapping it up. And when I looked up, I was the rookie of the year for Williamson County. I looked up, I was the realtor of the year. And it wasn't because I had set my goals for that. I just didn't know what good looked like, right? I was just working hard and trying to do what I do. And
Right.
all that gets rewarded, right? So you put in, you'll get out, right? And so that's how I got into the real estate business. What I tell people, had I known I was going to enjoy it so much, I would have done this earlier.
Mm. Yeah.
Honestly, I had budgets for IBM. I was responsible for marketing for the PC company. I had literally hundreds of millions of dollars that I spent.
Yeah.
Wall Street Journal ads and all of that. If I never did another Wall Street Journal ad, IBM would still be okay, right? But when I gave a key to someone who didn't think they were ever going to be able to buy a house, that they were going to have to lease for the rest of their life, that they could not figure out their finances on how to come up with the down payment, how are they going to stay in the house, that makes a difference to people.
Yes.
That made a difference to me because it wasn't another ad. I made an impact on somebody's life.
Wow. Wow. That's incredible. That's incredible. So speaking on, I mean, because I saw your marketing and I'm a marketing guy. You know, I love marketing. I love branding. I love advertising. And that kind of helped me answer the question. I didn't know that piece of it, the fact that you ran a lot of the, you know, hundreds and hundreds of millions of dollars in marketing, because when I saw your marketing, it was very smart. You branded yourself. You poured into your agents. It was always a pleasure doing business with you and one of your agents because they knew what they were doing. And you know, if not, they had Mama Rene was going to take care of it and make sure everything was done right. And so it was always, you know, and one of the things I like to say, you know, game recognizes game, and we were in the same market, and I would just watch what you were doing, and I was very, very, very impressed with it. So you learned quite a bit, huh, in the sales and marketing space that you were able to transfer over into real estate.
So real estate's all marketing.
That's right.
It's all marketing, right?
Mm-hmm.
And the real question was, how could I take what I had learned in those companies and do that on a smaller budget, right? And have the same
With
impact.
your money. Yeah, right.
Yeah. Have the same impact and the same brand. What made a difference? What was going to be the priorities of where we spent money and where we didn't spend money?
Right.
And I will tell you, from my perspective, it's big rocks, right? You want to spend money on big rocks. The little stones will take care of themselves, but if you can take care of the big rocks, that's what you want to do. And I've learned so much from you, right? I had not thought about writing a book until I went to your class and you start talking about writing a book and how you do listings and sending out that template. I'm thinking I can take this to the next level, right? And writing books. And I will tell you, since that year where you introduced that to me, I've written a book every year.
Oh, good for you. That's incredible.
Yeah.
That is beautiful. I love it. I love it. I love it. You know, and that's part of that legacy, you know, and it just takes being able to have that little spark to say, because that's what I consider myself. You know, I'm not a roaring fire. I'm not a big flame. I'm just a little spark. And if I can get a little spark going in you, that's all it takes. You know, for the person that, and you just fanning that flame. So that's good. Glory to God on that.
Been a great spark for a whole lot of people. We are blessed to have you.
Thank you. Thank you so much. You know, and it's interesting when you talk about, so yours is a 501c3. It's a nonprofit, yes, the way you're setting it up. Yeah. So that's the way I set it up. And I fought it, Rene. I got to tell you, I fought it because I've been an entrepreneur since the age of 12. Okay. And it was pride and ego. I just put that out there. That's all it was. I was like, look, I'm an entrepreneur. I teach people how to get rich. I'm not starting no nonprofit. I want profit, you know. But when I looked at what I was doing, and I was, 90+% of what I was giving out was free. I had one guy who reached out to me. He says, "Man, I can't figure out how to buy anything on your website." He was upset. He couldn't figure out how to buy anything. I was like, "Dude, what do you want to buy?" Because I was actually operating as a nonprofit. I've been fighting it because the giver part of you that becomes so strong because it's so exciting to see lives change. And so I said, you know what? This is a model and a system that has been set up. It's a great system. It goes way back even before 501c3 was a thing. And it's just other people being able to sew in and help other people, period. And
Yeah.
so that's the reason why I just launched it last month. So yeah, speak to that.
It is connecting people who have the same mission that you do, that
Right.
want to reach the same folks or help the same folks that you do, be
Sure.
able to contribute so that you can do more.
Right.
And
Right.
so I have been really blessed with just people handing me checks.
Yeah,
All of the
it's
proceeds
blessing.
from the book goes to her first place. All
Mm.
of the proceeds from the sales of homes go to her first place. Um, and before I looked at it, I'm like, I have to find more people to give money to because people are giving money to me, but I wanted to go through me to make sure it gets to the right people so
Right.
that we can do more,
That's
right?
incredible.
And people are so encouraging that says, I love that idea. I love that target. I'm about to change and shift my career to what I'm doing right now.
Hmm.
And so I'll be leaving Compass as the broker next month so that I
Mm.
spend more time on my foundation
Sure.
because that's where my passion is. That's
Yes.
what feeds my soul. That's
Yeah.
what makes my day, right? And so if I can do more of that and I have the time still left that God has given me on this earth, I want to make sure that before I leave here, that I want to leave here empty. I
Yeah.
don't want to leave here with nothing that he's given me that I should have given that I hadn't already given.
Right. Right. Oh, that's so beautifully said. So beautifully said. And the fact that I'm moving 100% that way as well. Into just working with my nonprofit and which has been such a blessing. And so give us a sense of how many agents you've been over, like at the breadth of the number of agents that had been under your, not really under your thumb. That's not a good way to say it. Under your
Guidance,
uh,
guidance.
guidance. That's a better way. I
Yeah.
like that better.
So right now, we have about 3,700.
Wow.
Probably by the end of the quarter, we'll be closer to 4,000.
Mm,
Uh, I was supposed to leave at the end of last year, and then
mm,
we had this little bit merger and acquisition that we did with a company here in town. And so I stayed a little longer for the transition, but
yeah.
we're about done, and I'm ready to move on to the next thing God has for me.
Well, I will tell you what, I am going to have you back as you kind of move more and more into her first place and you start getting that more and more established and that becomes more and more part of your day. Just imagine what it's going to feel like. And I know you have some days where you're able to do this anyway, but where you don't have a divided mind, where you just get up and you say, "Hey, it's her first place today. That's what we're doing," and that's just it's like a playground. And what I started to realize, Renee, and I didn't realize this before. Um, I didn't even realize this last week. It gets me emotional. I'm trying to duplicate what I've done for other people in my organization because I've got a little over 300 agents. And I said, okay, so I'm going to put all this stuff together, and I built all these funnels and everything. And I said, well, wait a minute. And I tried to figure out a spreadsheet, and I said I can't because they haven't paid in. Like for them to get a withdrawal, they've got to have made a deposit. And these agents, they're great agents, they're lovely, wonderful people, but they just have never made any deposits into people. So now when they're doing the things that I'm doing, reaching out to people, seeing if they want to partner and things like that, they don't have any. There's no relationship capital. They haven't sewn into people. And so I didn't realize that component of it. I mean, I kind of took it for granted, but it is so important. And I know that as you start to reach out to people to give, they're going to be incredible givers. And I could even see this as potentially, and you may already have a beat on this where other agents can adopt this into their model. Is that where we're going
Oh
with it?
yeah. I have
Okay.
shared it with so many people. And it may not be the same mission, right? But
Okay.
the model works.
Absolutely.
So if I can say, I'm going to give you a referral, half of that is going to go to this, the other
Right.
half to go with that. Here is the deal. Is that there will never be a client targeted to your mission that you won't fulfill, that
Mm,
won't remember, and will be able to pass it on.
that's right.
Right? So
That's
I'm
right.
just planting a seed.
Hmm.
Somebody else is going to water, somebody else will till, but God makes the increase, right?
Amen.
And
That's
so
right.
I am just trying to figure out how I can make the deposits, where I can to make the
Mm.
deposits. So one of the reasons why I want to be able to be free to go do that is because people have asked me, "Oh, I've read your book. I would like you to speak, or I would like you to be on this panel." And I'm like, I can't. I got this 9 to 5. I got to go to the 9 to 5. So
Right.
it gives me some freedom to be able to spread the word a little bit more, tell
Sure.
more people, help more realtors figure this out
Yeah.
as what's your give back? How do you make sure that you are leaving a legacy in what you're doing? And
Yeah.
figure out what your purpose is, right? It may not be Black women. It may be somebody else or some
Mhm.
other cause, but
Sure.
figure that out.
I love it. I love it. I love it. Well, I'm going to hold you just a couple more minutes, and we're probably a little over time, but I'm very intrigued. I had no idea you were on this path. We hadn't, it's been a while since we went to jazz night or hung out. And I know you've been busy. I've been busy as well. So talk to the agent. I'm going to switch gears a little bit. So talk to the agent right now that because, you have 3,700 plus odd agents at this moment in time that are under your leadership. Talk to that agent that is going through what I call an emerging market. I used to call it a shifting market. It's really like kind of an emerging market. I hear it's on fire. I've been in Puerto Rico the last several months, but I hear it's starting to blaze up. In your neck of the woods, but there's agents out there that are struggling. They're like, okay, what do I do? I need now money. What are my next strategies? What are my tactics? Because we didn't really get tactical here, and that's okay. This is all inspiration and encouragement. But speak to that agent. What would you have an agent come into your office and say, Rene, what do I need to do? I can't seem to make headway in this market. What kind of encouragement or what would you say to that agent?
I'm going to tell them to
Okay.
do. Right? Consistency over time will build your brand and build your money. Do,
Mm,
right? And
yeah.
it's not the big shiny things like, oh, I went to a closing and it was a $50 million listing. Mm-mm. Consistency is what you need to do every day. So you're going to time block. If you're not doing open houses, I had a conversation with a agent not too long ago, and I said, "So are you doing open houses?" They said, "Oh, I was told open houses don't work." I'm like, they do if you work them,
That's
right?
right.
And
That's
so I
right.
began to say, what's the price point you want to work at? He said, well, I'm working at about 400,000, but where I really want to be is like 800,000. I said, okay, then go open those houses because the people that are coming in to buy those houses are at that price point where you want to be.
Yeah.
And then own the open house when you get there. You can't
Mhm.
get up on Sunday morning and say, oh, this looks like a good day. I think I'll go put some signs out. No, you got to make sure that on Monday you started working for that open house for Sunday and
Mm,
start doing the work. And then consistency. Did you follow up, right? For the people that you know? Did you add them to your database? What are you doing? I mean, here's the deal. When people walk in, are a taker or are you a giver? Right? And so there should be a magnet to you that people want to work with you. And how do you do that? Knowledge is power, right? Give them the information that they're looking for. I always talk about brokers and agents who want to withhold information because if I withhold it, then you'll need me. No, if I give it to you, then I want to come back to you to get some more. So be a giver. Tell them what they need. Tell them what they want. Warn them about the pitfalls that they may fall. But if you come across as the person with knowledge and expertise, they're going to want to work with you, right? So do. And if I always tell people, if you're getting to work in double digit numbers, you're late. You got to get to work and get up in single digit numbers, right? Because double digit numbers, you're already late, right?
Right.
And you're not going to go to bed until you've accomplished something, right? We always say, oh, we've got these to-do lists, but you've got to accomplish something on that to-do list. What difference did you make today? What did you accomplish? What did you finish? What is it you're doing, right? Because doing will yield results.
That's right. That's right. So well spoken. Thank you so much for that. And it's always good for, my listeners to hear it from a fresh new voice. Time on the task over time yields the right results every time. Consistency is key. And I remember when I first got into real estate, every single day, I lead generated for 3 hours. Eventually it became 2 hours, and eventually it was 90 minutes because I had a pipeline of business built up, and I figured out what consistent activities needed to be done. And you'll always, and you and I know this, having, managed hundreds and hundreds of agents or coached thousands, that when they come to you with that, hey, I need now money, I don't know, feast or famine, they're not 100% of the time, they have not been consistent with the activities that will yield the results. And so, or consistent at all. So yeah, you're right. So good. So what else would you like to share, Rene, that I didn't touch on? Is there anything else that you'd like to add to our conversation? Because we could go all day.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So I want to make sure that you surround yourself with the right people, the right resources, that you're not just spending time, but you're spending time with productivity, right? So that you want to be with people who are going to stretch you out of your comfort zone. If you're the smartest person in your group, you need a new group.
That's right.
Right? So you want to be around people who teach you, who stretch you, who challenge you, right? So your group will help your mindset. Your mindset is so important. If you think you can or if you think you can't, both are true.
That's right.
Both are true. So making sure that you believe that you can do this, it is more than the words. It is a belief system that your knower knows,
That's
right?
right.
That I know, that I know, that I know,
Mhm.
right? And when you get to the point that you know, that you know, that you know, nothing, nobody can stop you or hinder you. You will knock down walls and you'll be successful and you'll teach somebody else how to be successful.
I love it. Rene Walker in the house. I'm so excited. Thank you so much, Rene, for being willing to,
Thanks
sit
for
down with me.
inviting me. I appreciate that. I'm so honored.
Oh yeah, it's an honor. It's an honor. And as we continue to see Her First Place do what it does, and you living out your legacy in the life that God created you for, and that purpose on the earth, and helping thousands and thousands of Black women across the maybe even across the globe eventually. I will continue to pray for you. We'll support what you're doing. We'll spread the word as well. So let's definitely connect on that, on how I can get the word out there when the time is right for you.
Thank you. I appreciate it so much. I appreciate you. And I appreciate what you do for this industry.
Vice versa. All right. Love you. Later.
Love you too. Bye.
Well, thanks so much for tuning into this episode of the Success with Listings podcast. If you are serious about taking your real estate career to the highest heights, making more money and helping more clients while working less hours and spending more time with your family, be sure to get your copy of my free book, Triple My Listing, absolutely free at successwithlistings.com. Now, you want to be sure that you subscribe to the podcast and check out successwithlistings.com to get your copy of my free book. Hey, I'll see you on the next one.